Huh?
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 Huh? Huh?
Shoo.
Huh?
Shoo.
Shama. Well, that one's cool.
Oh.
Huh?
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 Huh? Shoo.
In an era that seems to lack a true UFC superstar, Alex Pereira has submitted his application for that top spot and seems perfectly qualified for the position. After joining the promotion less than 3 years ago, Pereira has already become a 2 division champion with 2 total defenses and eyes on a potential 3rd weight class to conquer. Not to mention, he has also caught the attention of people outside of the MMA core fandom with his impressive and vicious knockouts. How did this happen? What caused this meteoric rise to the top? Well, it all started when a certain champion decided to speak up about Alex, bringing up their troubled history and their current status in life. And that's when the most successful hater was born.
Now let me say I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. I hate the way that you sneak this. If I catch flight, it's gonna be
Alex Pereira was born on July 7th, 1987 in the favelas of Brazil. He would drop out of middle school to begin working at a tire shop in order to provide for his family. At the age of 12, he would begin drinking, which led him to becoming an alcoholic. With no real hope or future in sight, Pereira knew something had to change. Pereira started training kickboxing in 2009 at the age of 22 to help overcome his alcoholism. He would go on to become a professional kickboxer, making his debut in 2012 and competing in the sport all the way until 2021. One thing to note about Alex Pereira's early kickboxing career that is critical to his success today is his ability to constantly adapt and deepen his understanding of fighting with each outing. In the beginning, Alex was seen as a boxer who competes in kickboxing. He was criticized for his offense being exclusively hands with a solid right knee. This would change throughout his career, as he learned how to be effective with the roundhouse kick and, for his MMA career, crippling calf kicks. Of course, the technique Pereira is most associated with is his unbelievable left hook. A punch so destructive, there are multiple videos on YouTube just breaking down this left hook. Not only is the punch so powerful that even a glancing shot can leave you looking up at the ring lights, but his countless unique ways to set up the shot leave his opponents constantly game planning to look out for these subtle traps. Pereira would put up an impressive 14-5 record before going up against the man who would become his greatest rival, and the catalyst for his current superstardom, the infamous dog enthusiast Israel Adesanya. Izzy had a 30-2 record going into his first clash with Alex Pereira. Izzy has a flashy, theatrical style, and was no stranger to the highlight reel knockout. The two would first meet in April 2016 and put on a very entertaining fight. Alex was doing a good job at pushing Izzy back for most of the fight, but Izzy's slick defense made it difficult for Alex to land anything meaningful aside from some good leg kicks. Alex would land the occasional big right hand or left hook, but nothing seemed to faze Izzy too seriously. Izzy, on the other hand, was doing great work with his jab and controlling Alex's movements to put him in positions to be hit with more strikes. After 3 rounds, the fight ended and Alex Pereira got the win by unanimous decision. Many people believed that Izzy deserved to win the fight by the end of it, and he was robbed by the judges. After this, the two would continue their kickboxing career until they faced each other again only a year later in 2017. Izzy learned from his mistakes in the first fight. Instead of allowing Alex to back him up the whole fight, Izzy was visibly more aggressive in this matchup, backing Alex up and hurting him with multiple strikes, leading to Alex getting a standing 8 count. Izzy was clearly ahead of the scorecards going into the final round, but less than a minute in, the aggression would be Izzy's downfall, as he got clipped by an Alex Pereira signature left hook, putting Israel Adesanya out cold. This fight changed the trajectory of these two fighters' careers. Izzy would begin his MMA journey and find tons of success and a meteoric rise of his own through the UFC middleweight ranks. Pereira, however, would stay in kickboxing, where he would become the first simultaneous 2-division champion in Glory history. Both of these fighters were finding themselves at the top of their respective sport, but since MMA is the more popular of the two, Adesanya was getting all of the attention, while Alex was only known by the 12 people who watch kickboxing. In 2019, Adesanya would knock out Robert Whittaker to become the UFC middleweight champion. This would start a truly impressive run of Izzy as champion, making him one of the faces of the UFC. Izzy would even attempt to become a simultaneous two-division champion himself, but would lose a unanimous decision to the light heavyweight champion at the time, Jan Blachowicz. This loss did not do much to affect Izzy's star power. Sure, he may have lost the squeaky clean MMA record, but he dared to be great and would go back to middleweight, where he would start winning again. These two seemed destined to have their own separate paths and have great legacies in their own sport. But that would all change when Israel Adesanya did an interview with Sporting News Australia in 2020, where he would have this to say about his only KO loss and Alex Pereira himself.
I fought and I got knocked out, my first and only ever knockout loss, and then my only back-to-back loss as well. So for me it was a lot of learning. But I'm glad it happened because I wouldn't be here where it was. And even the same guy now he watches all my fights, and every time I fight, like clockwork, he'll try and put something out like, I beat this guy. But I've never ever watched any of his fights, ever. So at the end of the day, no one knows who the he is. And he's gonna be that guy when I'm world champion, when I'm a legend. He's gonna be at some pub, talking some shit about, I beat that guy one time, trying to get a dick sucked from a crack whore or some shit.
In Alex's own words, when he watched this interview, he felt challenged. He felt motivated. He wanted to face Adesanya again to prove something to everyone and himself, to show the world who he is. Alex had only dabbled in MMA up until this point, and Izzy had devoted all of his time into the sport. But it didn't matter. Alex wanted Izzy's crown, and he would need to join the UFC and rise up the middleweight ranks to get that opportunity. So that's exactly what he did. Alex Pereira joined the LFA in November of 2021, where he would score a viral left hook knockout against Thomas Powell in the first round. After that performance, and his history with the current champ, the UFC saw a potential super fight in their future, so they signed Alex to the promotion. Alex would make his UFC debut in Madison Square Garden on November 6, 2021, where he would score a flying knee knockout against Andreas Michailidis. Alex would then defeat Bruno Silva before getting a fight with Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland was the 6th ranked middleweight in the UFC at this time. A win over him would put Alex in line for a shot at Izzy, as Izzy had already defeated all of the fighters in the top 5. The UFC very smartly put Alex's fight on the same card that Izzy was main eventing against Jared Cannonier. Questions about this matchup would be asked during the UFC 276 press conference, which would heighten the tensions between the two and build the hype up even more.
Trust me, he knows I put him on skates last time. And this time when I put you on skates, I'm gonna leave you frozen like Elsa. Thank you.
At this point, Adesanya was losing the love of many MMA fans. Izzy came off very arrogant and, for a lack of a better word, cringy. It would not help that Izzy's last few performances were underwhelming and at times downright boring. The people were ready for someone who could give Izzy even a little bit of resistance, and everyone believed that man could be Alex Pereira. At UFC 276, Pereira would knock Sean Strickland out in the first round with a, you guessed it, left hook, launching himself into the top 10 middleweight rankings. Izzy would go on to win his fight in a boring, slow-paced match where he would get the unanimous decision. The stage was set. It was time. Adesanya vs. Pereira in MMA was set for Madison Square Garden at UFC 281. After all the build-up, the back and forth, these two face off once again, one seeking revenge and redemption, and the other wanting to take it all away. The fight starts with Pereira having a good first round until a huge right hand and left hook combo by Izzy wobbles Alex badly. Alex recovers and has a good second round, but after that, Adesanya begins to slowly dominate with his pressure and superior grappling. By the 5th round, Adesanya was confidently up on the judges' scorecards, just like how he was during their second kickboxing match. Adesanya learned from his previous mistakes, and instead of getting overly aggressive, he looked to clinch up with Pereira and burn the clock. It was looking as if Pereira's voyage to conquer a new sport by defeating a past foe was all about to fall short. But then he did what he has done in so many of his other fights. He landed the left hook.
Oh, here's that left hook. Here it goes. Oh, and now a right. Adesanya's on one leg. Two more. Down goes the champion. Pereira trying to close the show.
In a year of championship fights ending in 5th round comeback victories, Alex Pereira rallied to defeat Israel Adesanya by TKO and becoming the new middleweight champion in the same arena he made his UFC debut in only a year prior. Alex has completed the story. He followed Izzy to a new sport like a boogeyman and took his title away from him. But this would not be the final time these two met up in the cage. Izzy was a dominant champion before this fight, which granted him an immediate rematch against Pereira. The fight would take place at UFC 287. A win for Pereira would separate the two even more, but Alex would fall victim to being too comfortable. For the first time in these matchups, Alex was getting the better of Izzy pretty much the whole fight, and in shockingly similar fashion to the end of the first round of their last match, Izzy would throw a big right hand off the cage and knock Pereira out cold in the second. The Linsanity run seemed to be over. Pereira was 36 years old and has just been brutally knocked out. However, a trilogy in MMA would be massive, but Adesanya would shut it down immediately after the fight was over. Alex had a few options, but decided he was done with cutting all the weight down to 185 and wanted to move up to 205 to try and become a two-division champ. This is what Izzy tried to do as well, and Alex would face Jan Blachowicz, the same opponent as Adesanya. Jan was no longer the champ, but a win over him would give Alex an opportunity to fight for the 205 title. Alex would go on to defeat Jan by split decision. Having a win over Jan was now another accolade Alex had over Izzy, and he was ready to face Yuri Prochazka for the vacant light heavyweight championship. Alex would find good leg kicks early on against Yuri, but he was mostly outgrappled in the first round. Alex would go back to attacking the leg in the second round, but he would get backed up and hurt by a right hand along the cage. Aside from leg kicks, Yuri seemed to have a slight step ahead of Pereira. But that would all change when, you guessed it, Pereira landed a big left hook while Yuri was coming in and sat Yuri down. As Prochazka tried to recover by shooting a takedown, Alex would rain elbows on the side of Yuri's head and get the TKO, making Alex Pereira a two-division champion, once again. In the span of around 2 years, Pereira has accomplished one of the most impressive things an MMA fighter can do. Israel Adesanya attempted to do the same thing, but it was Alex all along that was capable of this feat. Izzy's case would get even worse, as he would go on to lose his belt to Sean Strickland, the man Alex had zero issues defeating. Although Izzy does have the last laugh with the knockout, Alex was truly on top of the world. His hate got him 2 UFC championships, but he wasn't finished there. Alex would headline UFC 300, the biggest card in history that was not tied to Conor McGregor. Pereira would face Jamal Hill, a former champion who won his title by defeating Glover Teixeira, Alex Pereira's coach. Another storyline, another man to hate. Alex would make quick work of Hill, knocking him out with, you guessed it, a left hook in the first round. Alex Pereira was global. So many fun fights, so many spectacular finishes, and his activity in the sport kept his name fresh in everyone's mind. Only 2.5 months after the Hill fight, Pereira would rematch Yuri for his second title defense. While the first fight between these two was competitive, Pereira's adaptability was on full display in this rematch. Alex would shut down Yuri's takedowns with body jabs, and the leg kicks were working once again. Alex dropped Yuri with the, yeah, you guessed it, left hook at the end of the first round. Yuri would recover and walk out for the second round, only to get caught with a head kick 5 seconds in, ending the fight and giving Alex another title defense. Now we're in present time. Alex Pereira is beloved by fans for his personality, performances, activity, and let's be honest, the fact that he's beaten Izzy so many times. He is truly an example of you can do anything if you hate hard enough and have people you want to prove wrong. What's next for Alex Pereira isn't very clear. There is a vocal light heavyweight contender in Magomed Ankalaev waiting in the wings for his shot, but the chance at heavyweight gold might be too enticing. There is Tom Aspinall with the interim heavyweight championship, but John Jones currently holds the real crown. After his fight with Stipe, if he decides to stay in the sport, who would say no to that potential matchup? But whatever the UFC and Alex Pereira decide to do in the future, one thing is for sure, we will all be watching.
Shama!
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and please subscribe if you want to see more content from me. Thank you.